I've just mentioned why we need to save seeds. Does anybody else have suggestions or comments on why we need to save seeds? Basically food security, cultural heritage, they taste great. Basically, I use the term open-pollinated to include heirlooms and old-timies and break that away from hybrids, F1 hybrids. The advantages of the open-pollinated is that they're genetically diverse, so you've kind of got internal insurance to adjust to weather and climate change. The open-pollinated varieties, well, you of course can save the seeds and get what's called true to type. True to type is a horticultural term where you take a seed, you grow a plant, it has certain characteristics you like, you save seeds from it, you get plants that are like the parent plant. It's not always that way because in open-pollinated you can get cross-pollination and get you don't know who the male pollen is, and you can get a lot of variability. Open-pollinated tend to be indeterminate, or we can select for crops that bear over a long period of time. Commercial people want a crop ready the same day so they can harvest the whole field. We as consumers want food that feeds us for a longer period, and also we want things that store and are beautiful and taste good, of course. Nutritious, easy to store, that sort of thing. I'm using this as an example of how to explain, well, let me just mention the opposite of the hybrids. Basically, an F1 hybrid is how most hybrids that you get. They're produced by developing very inbred breeding lines, then they're crossed, and that first generation gives you high vigor. It also usually requires high inputs of herbicides, insecticides, fertilizers. They're also high cost. They're not always available each year, and it's difficult to save seeds. You can actually dehybridize a hybrid, but it's going to take you probably 5 to 7 generations to get a stable one from that. Basically, the second generation of a hybrid, you get the best and the worst of both parents. So you're going to have to select out a lot of plants to get a stable line, but it can be done. Also, a unique thing about corn is that the color of the kernel is genetically linked to the male pollen. So when you see varieties, you're seeing the individual genetic diversity. I have the hardest time getting people to image that you've got a field of corn that on the outside looks very similar, height, maturity dates, but on the inside you've got genetic diversity, and that's what we need to maintain, because once we lose genetic diversity, it's basically irreproducible. Each silk, of course, is a pollen tube that grows, and just the corns, I think, are absolutely beautiful to use to create aesthetic food dishes. These are actually some sweet potatoes that were 2 years ago were donated to the seed exchange, and I just wanted to know that this is, even though it's called a seed potato, it's a clonal propagation. And so this is almost the equivalent of self-pollinated plants, that there's very little genetic diversity and it's fairly easy to save and maintain. I'm going to mention saving native seeds and from fruit trees. You don't know who the male pollinator is in most cases for a fruit tree, and so if you plant those seeds, you're going to get the entire genetic diversity out there, the good and the bad. And it's also probably going to take 10 to 15 years before you get a fruiting plant out of it. So with those crops, traditionally in horticulture, they're done by cuttings. Golden Delicious was a sport on a tree, and unfortunately somebody thought it was good to propagate and distribute to the masses. There's so many others. These were from Jana Fishman. She admits to growing 30 or 40 varieties of sweet potatoes, but I know for a fact she's grown over 120. So most people don't realize that there's this incredible diversity out there And it's being lost if we don't, as individuals, say that